All right, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, good night, good morning to you, whenever it is you tune in. Hope all is going well for you. Not very often that you see me without my camera, and that's for a very specific reason. I just had something delivered in the mail today, and I thought I'd start off the show by starting off with a brand new starter jacket. It's got the Stitch logo on here, got the shield on the side, got the Falcons lettering on the back. I like it. Let me know in the chat what you guys think of this. It's just we've been having a lot of throwback moments, so I thought I'd pay homage to that. That's where I got it from. Not a sponsor. It's just I really like the look and feel of this jacket. The one thing I would say is that this is a double XL and it is still kind of small on me. That's probably not have anything to do with them. That's probably just me being a girthy individual. All right, how's it going, everybody? Good to see you guys here. We got Lee85 joining us. We got Terry Lloyd joining us. We got Big Ant joining us. We got Stealth Model TV 23 joining us. Glad to see you guys here. I see a couple more, so show of hands. Where's everybody at? How's everybody doing? I am by myself, but that doesn't have to stay the same. Ooh, yeah. I'm glad you did. This is actually like the first throwback logo anything apparel that I've ever owned. Now that I think about it, like I'm looking back at maybe like a couple stickers here and there, but nothing too crazy like this. But yeah, it feels pretty nice. It is really warm in this room, but I'm still gonna rock with it because I got the fan right in front of me. So we're gonna kind of roll with it for as long as we possibly can in here. Otherwise, I'm gonna microwave myself. All right, so now that we are here, we're all gathered, right, everybody? I see some watchers. Just want to see a show of hands. Ooh, man, it is really warm in here. Man, this jacket does a really good job of like maintaining your body heat. I will give it that. We're gonna be doing a test run, just being stable here. All right, D. Coleman. Got someone else that's here. Good to see you. Whew. I need another hat. That's what I'm kind of waiting for. I either gotta wash some of the old ones that I have or buy another one. Now, financially speaking, I would like to just wash one of the ones I have, but I also just want like a throwback hat to go along with this, and I think that would look pretty good. So that could be in the future as well. We'll see how this goes. As we wait for, I don't even know what I'm waiting for. We got Bubba Gump here. Nice to see you. What I can do, Trey's not here because you know what he messaged with his homecoming game. So he's busy doing that. Hope he and his team wins. I did have a message from Lyric's mom saying that she would be willing to join. I'm kind of waiting for her name to pop up in the chat. If not, anybody else that wants to join, I'm not against it. So kind of a couple of things. I honestly don't have a whole lot to discuss. Like I could probably just keep this like a 30-minute show and just unveil this and then say a couple other things. But wouldn't do anybody else any good. If I had the opportunity to bring on some other people, give us some more information about the game and the matchup, and I didn't do it. So, but what we do know is a couple of things. So we can go ahead and talk about some of the matchups that I do like. Looking at the Commanders' defense, it is the second worst in the league right now. So not great. If it wasn't for the Dolphins putting 70 on the Broncos and still having played a 6 game on Thursday, they would still have like the second worst. I think in third place we have maybe Carolina. It's also like really down there. Let me check actually. But yeah, just put this in comparison. The points against for Washington is 160. And we haven't allowed 100 yet. To put that in comparison, the Eagles have over 100 points dropped on against them. One of them was via the Commanders. So something to keep in mind. Now, how they got here is what I want to know. Because like they were a top 10 defense last year, right? They don't have any coordinator changes like we would normally suspect. Their injury report isn't that long. I know that they're missing Derek Forrest, their safety. He'll be on injured reserve. I think this is his first game he's going to miss. You got guys like Fedarian Mathis, the young D tackle. Everyone else on this injury report doesn't strike me as starters. They will have Christian Holmes, the corner, as out, but everyone else has full practices that was on their injury report. And for ourselves, well, we don't have much to worry about either. I mean, Bud Dupree, Caleb McGarry, Jonnu Smith, they all have full practices as of yesterday, so they will be fine. Now, I will say that, yeah, they do have a front four that I think any offensive line should be worried about. You got Melvin in the chat. Howdy, howdy. So, as I look at this Commanders team, they are about as average as you can be on offense, at least. Better than what we can say in terms of scoring points. But as far as everything else, they don't strike me as something to like really fear. Now, again, surprises can happen. It's any given Sunday. So I will have to give them the benefit of the doubt. However, if they were to try to like gain an edge on us, either like during like the first half or the second half, they are, I want to say, 31st in rushing attempts. So they don't have a whole lot of opportunities to run the ball. Now, yeah, they could go to game scripts and stuff. It's hard to try to consider the run game in your game plan when you're losing by 30 to Buffalo. But it's a couple of opportunities where they can try to sneak some carries in, especially when they have Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. So I like their backfield. I think they like their backfield. I like their weapons, especially when it comes to the receiving core. I think they can always strike some challenges. It's just this is a team that gave us a really physical battle last year, right? Went over there. It was a rainy game. It was like, I want to say Mariota's last game as a starter. And it pretty much showed. I think it was the Steelers game. I can't remember if it was before or after the Washington game. Well, yeah, I don't know. It's really weird about this Commanders team. Again, they have players that I fear, but like them as a team, they haven't really put it together in the way that we could. But that being said, like if they beat us, we end up having the same record as them. So what does that really say? Now, for ourselves, one thing that we can really focus on is our ability to convert third downs. Because they are 20th in ranked defense when it comes to allowing third down conversions against them. But when it gets to the red zone, they are 6th in the red zone percentage. There's a couple teams that are better than them. One of them being ourselves, because we're top 5 in the red zone defense. We're also pretty amazing when it comes to third downs in general. We're top 5 defense on third down conversion rate. We're the second best team when it comes to fourth down conversion rate. So, yeah, but it's like they're 20th on defense. We're 19th on offense. So, could be a couple things to point out. Now, the next thing is our passing attack. I think the biggest question so far has been, all right, we saw the one game, all right? And is there something else, or did we already see a peak? I don't know how you can experience a peak in like a matter of 10 games, but I think people have that kind of superstition about him. Where it's like, oh man, well, this is the best he's ever going to do because he's only at home and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, that should still work in our favor today or tomorrow, considering that that's another home game for us. So, I mean, I wouldn't have a whole lot to fear if I was them. But, yeah. Anybody else have anything to say about this matchup? Anything that we like, anything that we don't like? Got 30 people here, so appreciate you tuning in. I understand there's a lot of college football games and stuff going on. Had some really bad breaks with the Braves. I haven't seen much of it, but it's just I'm aware of it because I'm in the Discord and stuff. But yeah, not gonna really mention that more than once. Anybody else? How we doing? I did want to take a look at a few other things about, like, what is their pace? If we were to drop a certain amount of points on them, like, where does that compare with other defenses that we've like experienced ourselves? All right. I think last week was a peek into what a great Ritter game could look like. Expecting that weekly is unsustainable, but I need that efficiency as much as possible. Now, I get what you mean about not always expecting it, right? But you do have to appreciate it when you do see it. So can't really let that slip away. We can't let Logan Thomas have a good game. We got to cover tight ends better. True. He's a sneaky target. Got a good amount of length to him as well. But I mean, ultimately, I'm still like locking in on Terry McLaurin because he can just catch literally anything. That's what I'm always going to fear. Big Ant. I think this is the week we can get our run game back on track. I mean, yeah, we dropped 200 rushing yards against Green Bay, and I thought that they also had a really good, young, strong, powerful defensive line. And we didn't really see that when facing them. With Washington, they will have their moments, sure. But overall, even if we have another bad game from like McGarry, we know who we have behind him. So that's good. Other than that, I think our offensive line is like, hey, you guys should be paying attention to us now. you know, gotta score points. We'll never disagree with that. So let's talk about this quarterback situation, because we're going up against another young quarterback in Sam Howell, who as of right now has 7 total touchdowns, 6 in the air, 1 on the ground. And then I want to say, if we're counting the 2 fumbles that he has as lost fumbles, then 8 total turnovers. So he can definitely give us some opportunities. And given the way that our secondary has been playing, I really like that chance. So get an early rhythm going with Algier, Jonnu, and Michael Pruitt, and I think everything else opens up. Interesting how you mentioned those 2 tight ends. Does Patterson make an impact this week? Now, I would really love to have like 2021 Cordell Patterson when he just had 4 touchdowns against Washington. I wouldn't want the outcome, of course, but the quarterback that was responsible for that is now playing with us as a backup. So I worry less. Now, speaking of weapons, Patterson. I think we saw him in the backfield like a couple of times. I think he had like the 1 catch for 7 yards, but there was a couple other opportunities where we wanted to give him the ball. There was a few reads where I was seeing Desmond Ridder like try to go through his progressions, especially when like mesh concepts, and he would see Cordero Patterson in the flat. Like that was one of his first reads, but the read wasn't there because Cordero, whatever was going on, I think he was kind of jogging his route, which he's not the first person to do that for us, unfortunately. But I hope he's like among the last. So yeah, I think that this question, it's ultimately up to him. Like Patterson's going to make an impact if Patterson wants to. Everyone's got to give us their best game. It's like I understand like me saying that, oh, hey, well, I don't really fear them a whole lot. But it's like, again, I can't have like 100% confidence in any kind of game going into it because I know that I'm just a person that's talking. I'm not actually going out there and performing. So anything that I say and anything that anybody else says that aren't a factor in the game itself, we can't like guarantee anything. What I will say is that I was kind of right last week when I said the 20 points wins it. So not sure if you remember hearing that from me, but just got to reiterate it again. And here's the other thing, right? So, yeah, we have a 3-2 record, but our point differential is minus 13. We have allowed 96 points on defense, which again is like top 10. But we have only scored 83, which is not the worst. Despite a lot of people thinking that it's the worst, it's not the worst. But our wins have been very close outside of week 1, which I think we're kind of still facing a similar quarterback to where we were in week 1. So a very like young gunslinger, but ultimately like still fresh in the game. You can still rattle him. There's still a lot of like small throws that they can try to get just to kind of boost their numbers. Their net yards per attempt is like in the 5, like 5 something. So it's not a very big number. Like they're not like threatening. They're not threatening you downfield every single time, which is kind of a shame because Sam Howell can actually throw a pretty good pass. I'm just going to say you didn't say that. I mean, yeah, given the fact that he's got 6 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, that's about as traditional Jameis Winston as you can be. Only thing is that yeah, I can understand how Sam Howell will have that, given that he was dropped in the fire late in the season, didn't have much to go off of, and then now he's being coached by Eric Bieniemy and company. So yeah, he's got a couple things going for him, well, but yeah, it's of course I have. I'm not really going to try to entertain that idea. Now, the one thing about like trade situations is Van Jefferson, because we just got him from the Rams the other day. I actually really like this move, and I'll actually kind of explain why, because someone was trying to say like, well, we already had Scotty Miller. There's no reason why we need to have another deep threat receiver, and even then, he's not that deep. He's not that fast in order to be a deep threat. That's what they were saying, not myself. And I'm like, well, this dude ran a 4.39. He actually grew up kind of a Falcons fan, given that his father played for us and Sean Jefferson. He's not related to Justin, but he is related to Sean. So if you guys remember him from the early 2000s, yeah, I like him a lot. And I think that why we got him was because, like we said, like when it comes to getting an early rhythm going, what's really going to help us when it comes to this, as well as getting our run game, these actually go hand in hand together. So how that is when you have deep threats on both sides of the field, and I'm not talking like, jump ball targets, because sometimes they won't always have like the quickness in order to create separation like right away or right as we need it. So what we do need is that threat of speed, which we're trying to get out of Scotty Miller. We're going to have him we're going to like splash him on the field in different spots. But what we do need is another person there on the opposite side of Scotty Miller or on the same side to just really stretch out the field. That pushes the safeties back. And from there, whenever we're playing against a man coverage and the safeties have to go a little bit further away because they're too threatened by what's going to happen behind them, that opens up lanes for different kinds of routes. Right. So now we can have like a 2 deep man coverage look against them. And those safeties are playing way back because they're like, hey, we got Van Jefferson to worry about. I don't know how much of a factor he's going to be right away, but I do think that he's going to be in the game and starting to play a few snaps today or tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Arthur Smith tries to implement him. Because everyone else that we have, yeah, they're big targets, right? But we need something else. Because we have plenty of those guys. We have Johnny, who's a big target. We have Matt Collins, who's a big target. We have, obviously, Kyle Pitts and Drake London, who are big targets. Cordell Patterson is a big target. So, like, yeah, we're not going to run out of big targets. But what we do need is just that deep threat speed. And it's like, even if we don't connect on those passes, right? Even if Desmond Ridder, like, goes back on a play-action play and just heaves it over to either Van Jefferson or Scotty Miller, they always have to account for that whenever they see him on the field. And that's the thing to consider, right? It's not whether like, oh, well, he's going to be on the field and he's going to therefore get the ball every time. No, it's he's going to be on the field and we need to worry about what he can do. Because again, he's a pretty good receiver. And the fact that we only like swapped like 6 and 7 round picks for 2025, I'm going to take that chance every single time. So, yeah, we end up with situations with 2 deep man coverage. And guess what works now? A comeback route, a deep out. We have the dagger and on the inside that's going to be over there because the middle of the field is going to be open. Even if like a cover 1, that safety is going to be playing back. So, opens up some run lanes for us. They can't really go a whole lot of cover 4, especially when we have the flats to worry about. So, again, I think that there's a lot of opportunity here to get some more people open. And therefore, it makes it easier for Desmond Ridder to have 400-yard passing games. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but the opportunity for that to happen just growing up a few percentages. Take whatever win we can get, but I'd like to see us actually bring Howell down. Everybody's been eating against Washington. Yeah, like 33, 34, 37, 40 points. Like, they're not even, like, some of them aren't even good teams that they're going up against, right? Now, I could kind of excuse the Thursday night football game. But then again, I can't, because yeah, you gave up 40 points to the Bears when, their whole situation with Dick Butkus happened. Now, it is a tragic moment for them, of course, but again, most of that came from DJ Moore. And it's like, you didn't have anyone else to worry about on that offense, and you still couldn't stop that guy. We could have a few players that are like that. Bijan Robinson is definitely one of them. So, you didn't have to say that name. You didn't have to say that name. We could have been fine the entire length of the show without having to say that name. Speaking of which, what happened to Auden Tate? Like, there's just some people that like leave the Falcons and like I've never heard of them since. That front four, their defense may not stack the box. And here's the thing, right? Even if we watch some of their tape, they won't have one of those safeties that I'm talking about. So they might have to. They might have to go a lot of cover one just to kind of counterbalance the loss of Derek Forrest. Because he's a pretty good safety, but he won't be playing today. So yeah, again, if the only thing to worry about is our defensive line, then I don't see how we can have that much of a problem when we ourselves have a really good offensive line on the ground game. I cannot stress this enough. In the ground game. Cardio Walker, it's going. I think we got you next week after this. And can't wait to see you guys become 3-2 to Detroit. Honestly, I'm looking forward to see how you guys do that game, because knowing how we looked against Detroit, knowing how Carolina looked against Detroit, like, yeah, those are really two big differences. But how do you guys look against Detroit? That's what I want to know. Bro, what did we say? What did we say about like the names? All right. I mean, what else do you expect me to say? Like, you really expecting me to go, oh man, I hope you guys win, cheer on? Like, no, dude. Come on. We have some class around here. But yeah, another matchup, speaking of in the division, is the Aints against the Texans. I know how we made CJ Stroud look. How does CJ Stroud look against them? Because they're always the one that's like, oh, well, we're the better defense and we have this going on against for us and all that kind of stuff. And we just shut out the the useless New England Patriots. Like, yeah, great. Cool. Anyways, back to other teams. Elijah Cansey. I know one of his names start with a K. I mean, yeah, they're both from Pitt. I remember looking at his tape. The undersized, like really quick dude. It really goes along with everything else you guys have. Still shouldn't be enough to beat us, though. Okay, now you're just naming big folks. Like, you're gonna name big folks, but you're not even gonna name the biggest big folk that just didn't show up and disappeared out of the. I mean, you want to talk about Shadow Realm? Talk about Eddie Goldman. Like, good lord. The heck? What the heck? All right, now I gotta stop because then we're just gonna go on for 5 years talking about forgotten Falcons players. But yeah, I mean, if we have this win, right, and Detroit beats Tampa, and Houston beats New Orleans, which is, again, all three are legit possibilities. About a coin flip for both of them, or for all three of them. So Shadow Realm where Julio resides? Kind of. I would just kind of say like he's just done. He retired. He had a good career. I mean, he had a fantastic career with us. But as far as like going into the Shadow Realm, it's not. It just doesn't work the same when you mention a guy like him versus a guy like I don't know. It's too many to name. Or that. I guess there's an answer too. So. Yeah, Jared Goff too scary. Todd Blitz way too much. We top 3 for the most blitz team. I mean, it's not just them. It's not just their offense you have to worry about. It's what are you guys going to look like on offense against their defense? Because I don't think you guys have Mike Evans, right? Pretty sure he's been out. I kind of picked him up late in fantasy, and I just want to know what his status is to make sure that I'm making the right decision when I bench him. I guess he's cleared to play. All right. Listed as fully healthy. All right, well. Still getting benched because can't move my flex because I already forgot to put Jaleel McLaughlin out of the lineup. Yeah, it's kind of how it goes. Roddy White's much of the same. But I mean, he can still be found on Twitter or X at least. But again, I don't understand the name there, but I understand the number. So good. That leaves one excuse away from you when you guys lose. So. What else do we have? I mean, man, do we really want to keep this a short thing? Oh, any concerns about Washington's DBs? Well, you have Emmanuel Mosley, who is a very problematic corner. Problematic for Washington, I would say. You got Benjamin St. Juste. You got Kendall Fuller. which, again, they don't strike me as like above average. So again, it's all about how they scheme them up. All right, here's what we got going on. You have a choice between Mike Evans playing Detroit. You have the choice of Cooper Kupp playing Arizona. And you have the choice of A.J. Brown playing the Jets without Sauce Gardner. Sorry, I'm just not choosing him. Even then, I'd still have Zay Flowers against Tennessee when he decides to have hands. I have Jalen Waddle against Carolina when they decide to use him a little bit more. There is a reason why we went the entire 15, 17 rounds in our fantasy draft and didn't draft him. So yeah, that works for you. That works for you. Like your own offense, but that don't work for me on a weekly basis. Because I couldn't start him last week. Hey, bro, yeah. That's like I said, they got a really good red zone defense. So that should be a good test. I mean, again, we don't have a whole lot going against us as far as scoring. We just got to figure out what is everything that's going right for us when we approach there. Sometimes it's also just approaching there, right? Like out of all of our drives, we have had 15 red zone attempts. 15 red zone attempts and have scored 8 touchdowns. So yeah. Not the greatest, but certainly not the worst. It's dumb and concerning to me. On a few snaps, but overall, I like him. Like we don't really have anybody else because Matt Hennessy's gone for the year. Ryan Newsill looked a lot better in the preseason than when we saw him before. But it's just, again, I think I really like how he is with not having false starts, not having a whole lot of holding stuff. There will be some blown blocks, sure. Like we were one of the worst teams at that. But I think that he's also kind of trying to help out Bergeron. So when you have that going alongside of him, and then you have Chris Lindstrom, who's again still playing fantastic on the right side of him, you can kind of see why he might favor to go to the left a little bit more often, which could be exploited. So yeah, 4th round, maybe 3rd. Yeah. Long gone are the days of a Todd McClure and Alex Mack, aren't they? They don't even feel that long ago. That's the worst part. So, is there anything else? I think we go work on score predictions, and then there's a couple other things that we should outside of this that we can kind of focus on. All right. First score prediction 28-23. Again, I don't even see them scoring 23. Like, we saw how dominant Houston looked against, like, Jacksonville and then Pittsburgh, which, I mean, Lamar Jackson couldn't even score more than 10 points with them. And yeah, here they were with just 30 and then 37. So, well, mostly 30 because of the fullback kickoff return. But so I do have a scoring in the 20s still. I think that's a comfortable number to have. 28. I think that could be possible. I'm kind of leaning on 27. Just because it just gives us more possessions with points, which I think we can really go for. But yeah, I'm not opposed to 28. I'm not opposed to anything more than that either, in case you're wondering. So, man, I could honestly see like a 13-point showing, or maybe not even that. I think if we hold them, because I said 20 points wins it for us, I want to say that 17 points wins it for us tomorrow. If they score more than 17 points against us, then I'd be shocked. Likelihood Radio will throw more than one touchdown? It's very likely. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns in the last game. It's just one was rushing. So I think that if you have 1 to, and I cannot stress this enough, if you have 1 to Kyle Pitts, you could probably have 1 to Jonnu Smith too, honestly. But I think if you go for those guys, the third, if there is a third, it might be another rushing touchdown. And if that's the case, and I like Cordero Patterson getting that eventually. So, yeah, at this point, we got a wealth of riches the more that I think about it. There shouldn't be this like stigma against us not having enough points in order to win games. So I think that we're going to see some more phases of that focusing into the later parts of the season when it really matters to start clicking. Like, hey, having these early wins is good, but this isn't like a full like declaration of what our best looks like, right? What we've always said, or what a lot of people have said, is that like, hey, September football is very different from November football, which is very different from December football. Like, you have a lot more desperate teams going on to later seasons, a lot more games to play for, a lot less people to have doing certain roles for a lot of other teams. So when it gets down to the nitty gritty, I like the fact that we're stacking up on offensive weapons. Because if we're good how we are on the defense, as far as like a rotation in both the linebackers, secondary, defensive line, it's just about an offense and just kind of getting that full balance. So, and again, we can still live with that. What we have to do, if that's the case, is just run at them. Just use our power against them. So, other than that, I don't have a whole lot left to say. I will say that I always wanted to try this. Let me just go ahead and this, and then all right. Just gonna get up something real quick. Share the screen. That. Share audio. All right. For the last 15 minutes, we're going to play a game together. The Immaculate Grid. This is today's. If you guys are not familiar with this, it basically goes. Here's a list of Seahawks players that we will have to name. Here's a list of Eagles players that we're going to have to name. Here's a list of 10,000 passing yards in their career players that we're going to have to name. And if that 10,000 passing yards in their career came from the Steelers, then we will write that down. And we will insert our answer, and that will be our one guess. 9 squares, 9 guesses. And one thing to remember is that the name of the game is obscurity. So the more weird and rare your answer is, the better for your score. It's kind of like a golf score, where it's like the lower number that you can come up with is the better. So I will put a name, and there will be a percentage at the top right. Now, the whole point is for that percentage to be as low as you can possibly go. And I think this is like kept up to date. So even if we have like a moment where, all right, well, now I know that, okay, well, someone just recently moved over to this team, it will count it. So. Bro, I just said that you're going to lose to Detroit, and they're a good team. Like, there's... All right. So, I know one answer for one of these squares. My goodness. I'm going to give ourselves until... What is it, 53? It's going to go to the hour mark, but give a little bit more time. I just want to know. All right. So you guys are kind of... So you guys can't see it. You guys are giving answers. Steve Largent. Hang on. Are you going for Hall of Fame? Because, yeah, that would make sense if you were going for Hall of Fame. I don't think Steve Largent... Yeah, okay. I was like, man, that'd be incredibly weird if I found a Steve Largent Steelers or Bengals jersey. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to see the test. All right, so you see how that was a 60% answer? That is a very common answer, which is what we're not really looking for. But since you said it, I'm going to Put it there for you. All right. Now, Eagles Hall of Famer. I'm going to give you guys a name. Chuck Bednarik. 8%. That's what we're going for. We can go lower if we want. Now, here's the other thing about the 10,000 passing yards career Hall of Famer. There's a lot of names that we can go for because you are pretty much guaranteed 10,000 passing yards in your career if you're a Hall of Fame quarterback. But who do we want to name? I don't want to. I can't be like too confident about drawing back in history. Oh, come on, man. You ain't heard of Chuck Bednarik? Bobby Brister. Remind me what categories those are going to be for. Or Bobby Brister? Bobby? Sammy Ball is definitely, because he like ended his career with like leading everything. I think for this, I want to go with. Norm Van Brocklin, 0.6%. Again, that's what we're going for. Because we can always find names, but it's always more fun when you can think of like a really obscure one and it still works for you. All right, so now we're thinking players that have played for both the Steelers and the Seahawks, Steelers and Philly. That shouldn't be too difficult, considering the most Pennsylvania teams. If I can get more information on Bobby Brister, because I only have one guess, and I want to see if we can join together and fill it out. Kitna. Ooh. Kitna for Cincy and Philly. That does work. Let's put Kitna. Okay. Here's all right. Now I gotta look this up. It was the Cowboys he was a part of, not the Eagles. Dang it. Now you had him for the 10,000 yard passing career. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, one of these categories is not going to be filled out. That's probably my fault for misunderstanding the categories that you're trying to go for. All right. Philly and Pittsburgh for Deuce Staley. We will do that. All right. 15%. Pretty good. One of these we're going to end up with a picture of a player. Dan McGuire. Again, you're giving me names, and I appreciate them. I want to know where I can fill them out so I can start inserting them. Just going to go ahead and put Kitna there. So that was 3%. Pretty good. Hugh Douglas. For Philly and Cincy? Well, this is completely on you if it doesn't. All right, Cartier. That's enough. It's enough out of you. Well, now we got 2 guesses. Yeah, I remember him playing for Philly. Just wasn't a Cincy guy. All right. 10,000 passing yards in a career. Yeah, Neil O'Donnell's got to be there. 4%. All right. One guess left. Which category do we want to go for? I have a name, D. Coleman. You're gonna hate yourself for not remembering this because it's a very recent name. I have 2 names actually. Again, you're gonna not like the fact that you said this. But I want to see if we can go for a little bit more obscure. Former Rams running back Richard Bass. Again, you're giving me names. I want to know what category. What category are you shooting for? So, D. Coleman, which of the 2 players do you want to be reminded that went from Cincy to Seattle? Do you want him to be the offensive player or the defensive player? Because I only got the 1 guess, and I want to show you. Because again, one of them's from the 2000s, one of them's like just a few years ago. I'm gonna give you 1 chance to redeem yourself if you got a name. All right. Well, I'm gonna see if Carlos Dunlap works. So we got a score of 313 on the rarity. Carlos Dunlap at a 20%. The other name I was thinking of, was TJ Houshmandzadeh. I remember him as a Seahawk. Told you. What are you guys thinking? Do we want one more? I don't think I did yesterday's. All right. Hey, we didn't say that they had to be good. They just said that they had to exist there. Another TJ that was washed up in Seattle was TJ Duckett, but all right, now we got Broncos, Chiefs. We have 49ers, Chiefs. We have Chiefs 1,000-yard rushing season. We have Buffalo, Broncos, Buffalo, San Francisco, Buffalo 1,000-yard rushing season. Tampa. All right, Cartier. You should be nailing these Tampa guesses. If I see an answer from you and I put it in for the category that you want me to put it in for, and it doesn't work, you're out of here. Like, come on, man. Maybe I can try to find a one that has a Falcons one. All right, Moon Pie Wilson. Bro, that would have been tremendous to learn about a few minutes before. All right, come on, Cartier. Your move. You can go 1,000-yard rushing season. You have plenty of answers there to choose from. And then I want to see what you have to say about the Tampa and San Francisco and Tampa and Denver. I ain't going to give you any hints because you should know this. All right, Mr. Fan from what'd you say, 94, 84? Yeah, 94. You should have this down because you have plenty of years to choose from. By the way, it is an hour into this, and I am sweating on the inside. This was absolutely an amazing jacket for keeping your body heat. This fan has not done me in a good. This hasn't treated me well. Cardia, where you at? It's your team. Come on. Show yourself. Give me a guess. I know one of you guys are still here. All right. Meanwhile, I'm going to go with the other categories since we're not sitting here looking at a blank thing. All right. Well, I have a few options for this. I want to know what you guys think is more rare of the two for Buffalo and San Francisco. Yeah, I'm right there with you. It feels like too easy of an answer, which is why I'm saying, hey, for Buffalo and San Francisco, do I go with like a Deshaun Goldson? Do I go with a Takeo Spikes? Oh, I have. Yeah, there's a Nate Clements too. I know my answer. I hope this is like obscure enough. All right, we got 20% for Terrell Owens. All right, so the point of this game is that you have everything on the grid going from horizontal and vertical, and we're just trying to think of players that fit both categories, right? So if you know of a Buffalo Bill player that played for the Broncos, or a Broncos player that also played for Buffalo, then we could fill out that answer here. So I went for Terrell Owens because he started his career in San Francisco and then finished it with Buffalo. Well, unless you want to count that workout with Seattle or something. Then we have 1,000-yard rushing seasons. So long as they played for that same season, right? They had to have had that season with this team. So that's the thing to worry about. All right. Okay. Well. Yeah, I'm thinking work done. That could be an option. All right, Emmanuel Sanders. For which one? Which one do you want me to put? I don't even remember Emmanuel Sanders as a Buck. So that would be obscure if that's true. I don't want to look it up. That's the problem. That's like the one like forbidden rule. It's like, hey, I want to make sure that this comes from our brains and not just from online, because I only have one guess at this. Because honestly, like I remember San Francisco Emmanuel Sanders, and I remember Denver Emmanuel Sanders. I don't remember Tampa Bay Emmanuel Sanders. OJ played for Buffalo and San Francisco. All right. Good to keep in mind. We've already filled it out, but just this will come up again. Like we will have different grids to have different kind of combinations. Brian Greasy for Tampa Bay and Denver. No, they have to see these sections have to intersect, right? So they're next to each other, but they don't meet, right? So I can't think of a player that played for Kansas City and Buffalo and expect that to work, because they're not filling up the same square. Think of it like tic-tac-toe. So if you're lost when you play a game of tic-tac-toe, then yeah. Joe Montana, definitely Kansas City and San Francisco, but the point is that we want to have a better, more obscure answer, because what also works is Alex Smith, right? What also works is give it up for your favorite pal, Steve Bono, 5%. Oh, good old Cadillac Williams. Okay. Did he have 1,000 yards? Yeah, he would be obscure, because not a whole lot of people remember anything about the mid 2000s Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He actually go by Cadillac. Wow. All right. Yeah, Fred Jackson, Buffalo for 1,000. Did CJ Spiller have one? I don't know if he had 1,000-yard receiving, or not receiving, but rushing yard season. Pretty sure Marshawn Lynch had one as well. Oh, hang on. Oh, Mike Williams. I think I do remember him playing for San Francisco. You know what, Decom? I'm going to give you a better one, and I'm going to go with that guess. Travis Henry, 2%. Who said playing NFL Street doesn't help you later on in life? I'm going to go, nope, crap, nope. Go with. All right, now here's the problem, because there's like 15,000 different Mike Williamses. And I want to say that we're looking at the one that was drafted in 2010. he was from around there, right? Because that's Chargers Mike Williams. I don't know who that is, but that Mike Williams that was playing for the receiver for you guys was not drafted in 02. It had to have been that one. So you might have been thinking of another wide receiver. So, yeah. Well, there goes your chance for filling all that out. Any other guesses for Kansas City 1,000-yard rushing season? Because we mentioned Okoye, but I want to see if we can think of someone else. Who is that? Man, what was that running back from the 60s that they just dominated with? Who was Lane Dawson handing that off to? It might have been like a no-name dude that just had that special appearance in the Super Bowl against Minnesota. But did Clyde Edwards-Helaire ever have a 1,000-yard rushing season? I don't think he mattered all that much to them to have one. I can mention a couple of other players that like technically played for Kansas City that technically had 1,000 rushing yards in their career, but like I said, they had to have merged. Priest Holmes is a fantastic option. I'm gonna go. I might have to for Sanford Chauncey. I'm actually gonna go with someone else. 11% for Larry Johnson. See, who said that playing NFL Street 3 wouldn't help you in the future? He was such a beast in that game. All right, now we just got to think of Broncos players because that category is empty. Broncos, Chiefs, Broncos, Bills. Did Takeo Spikes ever play for Denver? I know I mentioned him for San Francisco, but I can't. Some of these selections, like some of them are really obvious. You know, like Broncos, Bucks, like that's John Lynch. But I think there's and that's the weird thing, right? Because sometimes you might end up with a situation where, this player is obvious to me, but it might not be obvious to anyone else. Mario Williams definitely did play for Buffalo. He played for most of his career in Buffalo, I want to say, outside of Houston. I don't know if he ever played for Denver. Yeah, I know you're talking about the first overall pick in 2006. But I don't know if he played in Denver. Are you confident enough in order to try that answer? Because you seem confident that he played for Denver. If you're asking me if he ever played for Buffalo, which I don't remember that. Von Miller. That works. That definitely works. Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know because that's really recent and he hasn't had the same impact in Buffalo. Oh, I know someone. I hope this name works. Because then I'm just shooting myself in the foot here. Shane Ray was not Buffalo. No. Shane Ray was in Buffalo, wasn't he? Okay, now that I guessed it, I can go ahead and look it up. I could have swore he played in Buffalo. Come on now. Yeah, I know that Shane Ray was drafted by Denver. I want to say that he went over and signed with Buffalo at some point. Yeah, dude. The heck? Hang on. Because this. Y'all see that? Shane Ray, Buffalo Bills linebacker. He did play for Buffalo. That name should work. Pretty sure he's playing for Buffalo right now. Buffalo Bills linebacker Shane Ray. What the crap? That name should have worked. How's it going, Eric Mack? I am just getting off of a little bit of a rant here with this immaculate grid going on. Here's the thing. I've had troubles with this before, and I think the only thing in which they could say is that, oh, well, this guy didn't have like a stat to show for his time there, right? Like there was a grid that I was doing, and it was Dallas and New Orleans, and I'm going for obscurity, so I wanted to guess with Dez Bryant because he signed for New Orleans, but like had the injury, so never technically played for them. So I put his name, and it didn't work because he never actually like played it down. And I wonder if Shane Ray is the same situation here, where yeah, he's listed as a Bill, but I guess he hasn't like played in a game for them yet. I don't know. And I also don't know about Willie Roaf or Brian Waters because yeah, they were in long time Chiefs offensive lineman, but I think Roaf was more of a ain't, right? Didn't he play for New Orleans too? So, man, that should. Here's the other thing that gets me is that if I go back to the Immaculate Grid, hang on. You see how the search result for Shane Ray still says 2018? I just talked about how they upgraded this darn thing, and they haven't upgraded Shane Ray. Wow. That is brutal. I found something that was too obscure for the game itself about obscurity. Are you kidding me? That's what I'm gonna find out, man, because he has definitely played for. Has he suited up? Has he done anything? I don't see any stats for him, but I know that he's there. Now, posted on August 21st, 2023, Shane Ray's NFL comeback hits snag as Bills put defensive end on IR. So he hasn't had the ability to play down yet. On Monday, Buffalo Bills placed Ray on injured reserve. This move could end his season. This move could end his season unless an injury settlement is reached. Coach Sean McDermott described him as a day-to-day Sunday. So I was back in middle of August, and I guess he's still day-to-day from whatever he was recovering from. That is crazy. So no, unfortunately, he doesn't have a tackle. He doesn't have a stat. That's I guess what the word looking for mostly. But he's on the team, man. That should work enough. So I'm just gonna fill this out because John Lynch. right there. 45%. Wow. There must have been a more popular name that I forgot. Last guess. Oh. Hmm. Man, there should be a lot of movement in between these two teams, considering their division. Frank Clark is one of them, but I don't know. I don't know if that's the answer I want to go for. Garcia does work for Tampa, San Francisco. I think there's someone else that should too. And that's the thing, right? Because you might read it as one way for a long time, but only when you like kind of flip flop it. Because Steve Young also works for this category as well. So which is more obscure to know? I'm actually kind of curious about Steve Young's percentage. 26%. We got a rarity score of 320. I want more people to kind of join with their own grids and stuff, so we can get like different percentages, just to see like who had the more rare answer. Because if I go with a name and then that's it, and then we just never know about the results of the other names that were given for that category, which kind of sucks. But, anyways, if you guys want more of this, I might drop the opportunity to do this like after our streams, especially if I have a short show like this, where it's like, hey, it's just me and just you guys. There's not a whole lot of that big game that I want to like really deep dive into because I want to have confidence in my team. And yeah, if you guys want to stick around where me and Trey eventually just kind of duke out amongst ourselves about, or anyone else that wants to, hop on and discuss like rare obscure names, because I am all for this. I think we'll go one. Oh, no. I wanted a Falcons one. I want to find one that has the Falcons. 382. Which one? 81. Ah, here we are. Okay. All right. Glad someone said that. All right, cool. Falcon. Let's at least get this Falcons one out of the way. What is your most obscure Falcons Giants combination? What is your most obscure Falcons Bengals association? What's your most obscure Falcons 1,000-yard receiving season association? Ooh. All right. I'm gonna go for your guys' answers. I want to know what's a name. What's a name that you guys want to throw out there? And again, remind me of the category if it's like that obscure. I only get one guess for these categories each one, so. Yeah, Auden Tate didn't do a darn thing. So, yeah, I dropped his name earlier, and he doesn't even help me here. So, he's useless everywhere we try to put him, I guess. Of course, yeah, you got to get the obvious guys like, Mohamed Sanu and Jesse Bates and guys like that. Harry Douglas, 1,000-yard receiver. I think that's still too recent. I think we can go lower. I think we can go more obscure. We're on the right track with a guess like Harry, though. I want to throw out a name where it's like I'd have trouble remembering that guy. And same goes for the Giants, too. So this could be players that play for the Giants and then moved over to us, players that moved from us and played for the Giants. Just things to keep in mind as we fill out that category in the middle. I'm not even trying to like concern ourselves with the other categories right now because I don't want to be here forever. But it's the most obscure name that this chat can come up with for these three categories. Because one of them right now we got Harry Douglas. That's them, but Brandon Lloyd didn't play for us. I want to try to figure out our category first. But you can have it off your mind. 2%. Not expecting that lower for percentage for him. I mean, he was like a journeyman though. He was dang near everywhere. So that's that. What else? I guess I'll try to fill out some of the other ones. That way you guys can focus on the Falcons ones. Let me think here. AJ McCarron. Do you think this would work? Because remember, if Shane Ray, yeah, that's the thing. It's like if Shane Ray didn't work, I don't know if AJ McCarron would work. Because yeah, we saw him in the preseason, but I think he had like the one game with us, and then he got injured again. So that is obscure. It's about as obscure as you can be. But knowing how this game is, it doesn't help us. I'm still like kind of mad about the Shane Ray. At this point now, I'm trying to figure out if because I have certain names for these other categories. I'm just trying to figure out if they match. Hayden Hurst, that's a good one. Yeah, tight ends don't get a whole lot of love in these categories. Speaking of which, is there any other like offensive or defensive line? Because I know that there's Michael Boley's a fantastic guest for Falcons and Giants. He was a starter for us for a few years, though. I want to see if there's someone else. Man, I wish I had two things of it. Maybe can I? Maybe I'll just pop someone up again though. Like if I try to use another screen, like another tab on the screen, just to kind of get a glimpse of the percentage. Because you just made me think of another linebacker that would also work for that category. Osia Manura is the other one. Yeah. Jason Webster. Do you want me to try that one? I'm sweating so bad. Because I can try that one. because that is definitely a name where it's like, ooh, I don't know. So I can put this one, and I can give you the name that I was thinking of, which was the other linebacker, which was Justin Durant. See, I pretty much only remember him as a Giant. I don't even remember him as a Falcon. We complete each other. Jason Webster. Let me spell his name correctly first. Webster. You failed me. All right, now we're going to go with my name of Justin Durant. I failed me too. Gosh darn it. All right, what's going on here? Oh, no. Wasn't Jaguars, Detroit, Dallas, and then us. I could have sworn he was a Giant at some point. Really? Why do I remember him as a Giant? Dang it. Maybe I was thinking of Bully. Webster was a Bill. Wow. Look at us sharing one brain cell. All right, then. Let's just get that monstrosity. Who else do you want to go? Yeah, I think we can go with Michael Boley. 2%. Pretty good pull. But would OC have been higher or lower than that? That's the thing. All right, so we have that category down. Anybody else want to take a crack at the Falcons Bengals or the Falcons 1,000-yard receiver? Dude, we have a lot of different options for the 1,000-yard receiving season. One of them, like I said, was Harry Douglas, but I think that's not obscure enough. I'm going to give you one name for me as my recommendation for that one. But then I want to see who else can pull off the Falcons Bengals one. Because again, like, yeah, there's some obvious names, but who do we really want to finalize our answer with? Because we only have like 2 tries. So you do that. I'm gonna. So many players to put here. Let me go. Charlie Joyner. 0.3% for Charlie Joyner, Hall of Famer, 1,000-yard receiving season, longtime Charger. Ooh, 90s wide receivers outside of Rison and Mathis are foggy for me. I'm going to give you one more name, and that's going to be what I'm going to answer. Let's see how obscure this can be. Tony Martin. Another 0.3%. Man, if we didn't mess up on those other guesses, we would have had a fantastic score here. All right. What's the last name we want to finalize for Cincinnati and us? Not a lot of answers, but there are some interesting ones. I'm trying to think of like offensive linemen or defensive linemen because those are those are like some of the position groups. Um, yeah, Jesse Bates is a really common answer right now. He should be at least. Sanu might be another popular choice. I'm just trying to think of like players that don't like position groups that don't really move around a whole lot. So like wide receivers, running backs, corners, those are pretty much gonna move everywhere. Hayden Hurst might still be a really good answer now that I'm thinking about it. I actually want to put that. Hayden Hurst. 20%. Feel like we could have went better though. So that answers that. I mean, I want to try this more in the future, and then obviously this will update the more days that we go. Yeah, that's. I'm trying to think of others. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me right now. I guess if we want to check out some of the other answers, we'll go. 2 guesses left. We'll go Hall of Fame. You know what? I'm pretty sure we can put. Mark Bavaro's got to be. Mark Bavaro is not in the Hall of Fame? What the heck? Yo, that shouldn't be an obscure get. All right. Harry Carson. Another 2% guess. Dang it. We had such a amazing thing going for us. Like 2%, 2%, 2%, like 3 gallons of milk, and 0.3, 0.3, 20. We just stumped ourselves, really. But yeah, that's gonna do it. I don't have a whole lot else to say other than I'm pretty sure we can win. I think 27-13 could be a really good score for us. So just keep that in mind whenever I say that. But hey, now we know. Because again, I grew up just always kind of doing this. I've always had this kind of trivia game, and now I get to like actually show like a score version of it. So yeah, I'm gonna use it a lot. On just moments where moments where we get bored. So, all right, that's gonna do it. Take care and enjoy this win on Sunday. Peace.